Suicide is that one thing that nobody wants to talk about. Not, of course, until after it is too late, that is. Oh, there are elements out there which, in your moment of critical uncertainty, never seem to stop talking about it. Over here you have the religious, Bible Belt assessment that suicide is the greatest, most heinous of all mortal sins. And yet at the same time, there is that constant assertion that everything, absolutely everything, happens in accordance with a divine plan. That all of this has been written out in advance. That it does not belong to man to direct his own steps, that you must not lean upon your own understanding, that all of our actions, going all the way back to Judas, are preordained. Well, which is it? Free will or the grand scheme of things? We'll let the theologians talk it over amongst themselves, spouting scripture at you, while you, in the meantime, are out on a window ledge, fixing to jump. Oh, but then over here you have the secular side of things. The guidance counselors, the therapists, the self-help motivational experts, liberating you with the enlightenment that your life is yours, that it is yours to do with as you see fit, that it is your life to live as you choose, insisting that you cannot live your life for anyone else, that you cannot conform your life to someone else's ideas, that you must live your life for yourself. Oh, but you just breathe the word suicide and they will stand in line to say, well, now, wait a second. You can't do that. You can't kill yourself. Think of all the people you'll be hurting. Think of the impact on their lives. How can you be so selfish? Suicide? No. You must remain alive so that you can live your life for all of them. Well, doctors, which is it? To thine own self be true, or we're all in this together? We'll let them figure it out. Meanwhile, you're about to open a vein. Which side is right? You know as well as I do that in the pain and the intensity of the moment, wading through all of those threats and promises will scarcely enter your mind. And this comes as no surprise, because this time, this one time, this is all about you. It is all for once framed and centered upon you and you alone. And ultimately, that decision is yours. It is straight out of the theme song to MASH. Suicide is painless, and I can take or leave it if I please. Try as they might, no one can make this decision for you. And should you be contemplating just such an irreversible course of action, if the notion of spiritual consequences in the afterlife is meaningless to you, and if you do not care about the individuals who you will be, not might, not maybe, but who you will be screwing over by leaving them all behind to deal with the figurative, the emotional, and indeed the physical burdens you will be foisting upon them, if none of that matters to you, then there still remains that one final, constant variable in all of this. And that, here and again, is you. And let's face it, should you have it in mind to take your own life, no matter how many reasons that I attempt to dredge up as to why you should not pull that trigger, you will be able to come up with dozens more reasons why you think that you should. In this life, you can write your own ticket. You can write your own tombstone. But if you opt to opt out early, then it will fall to someone else. some stranger, possibly even some fool, to write your epitaph for you, to craft your obituary. Can you imagine? But if in the face of your despair, all of these trivialities amount to nothing, well, since we are discussing reality, let me unveil to you one of its most closely guarded secrets, a secret which is not closely guarded at all. Did you know that you can lead an unhappy, unfulfilled, exhausting, and ultimately thankless existence and yet still refrain from killing yourself? I am here today to tell you that such is possible, and as to the eternal question of why bother? If life is so miserable, if it brings you such anguish, why sustain it to its natural close? Well, that's the gamble. That is the chance that you take in this world. It is said that life is risk, and it is known that life is a challenge, even to the weak-willed. Spiritually and secularly, it all amounts to a roll of the dice. So you see, the real question is, are you all in? And for that matter, am I? Will it be said of me that I was willing to bet the farm, or merely that I bought the farm? Children, whether it is as a curious, thrill-seeking daredevil, or as an embittered, angered, spiteful survivor, sticking around and seeing for yourselves how this metaphorical movie ends, holding out until they finally roll the closing credits, it is worth it. If you do not feel that you owe it to anyone else, then you surely owe it to yourself to see this thing through. It is worth the work, and it is worth the wait. It is well worth it to make it to the finish line. And there need be no worries about making it there first, because life is not a race. It is a marathon, and it is simply a matter of making it to the finish line at all. In fact, finishing last, dead last, can be the best possible way to go, especially if you are a good, decent, nice person, and yet you feel like you've been oppressively stepped on and beaten down the whole damn way. You just remember this. It is true that nice guys finish last. We make it to last call. We drink the last round. We are the last ones standing. We read our own last rites. We get the last word, and oh, we have the last laugh. And that alone makes it all worthwhile.